Thank you, everyone. And again, welcome to the Huntington Arts and Entrepreneurial Center. My name is Steve Kimmel, and I am the Executive Director of the Huntington County Chamber of Commerce. And this State of the City, which I believe is the second State of the City the mayor has done this year, is being hosted by the Chamber of Commerce and also Pathfinder Services. So I'd like to thank Pathfinder Services for offering this facility here for the mayor. Without any further ado, I would like to welcome the mayor of the City of Huntington. I think he is going to talk with you a little bit about what's happened over the past year, what's going to be happening this year, and the last year and a half has been very busy around Huntington and Huntington County, and I think once you hear from the mayor, you're going to realize just how quickly and how much we're moving forward in this community. So I'd like to welcome today the mayor, Mayor Richard Strick.
It's always reassuring to walk up to applause instead of boos, so thank you for that. I want to thank everyone for coming out this morning. It's a pleasure to be with you and have an opportunity to share what I've already shared with our city council. And as Steve noted, it really is looking back on many of the events and happenings of this last year, and particularly the accomplishments of city departments, and recognizing the hard works of folks like Bryn Keplinger and Annette Carroll in their leadership roles with the city, and Kevin Crosskoff as our communication coordinator. The reality is, as many of us know, nothing gets done without a team doing it together. And so it's fun to be part of that and celebrate that together. And so with that, I want to transition just into sharing these thoughts and also not spilling too much tea about some of the exciting things that are happening in this community. You'll hear about those when those businesses are ready to announce those things. So, may you live in interesting times is a Chinese apocryphal curse that we've learned the truth of all too well these past 2 years. Since the outbreak of the global COVID-19 pandemic and the aftermath of one of the most divisive United States presidential campaigns since the 19th century, many of us, myself included, are tired of interesting times. Despite our fatigue, it is necessary for each of us to recommit to the fundamentals that strengthen our community and will help us succeed as the second largest city in Northeast Indiana. We work best when we work together to solve the problems that are facing us. We work best when we focus on results rather than credit, and we work best when we continue to pioneer and improve the way we live together and serve one another. As we approach the 2-year mark since COVID-19 was first diagnosed in the United States, over 900,000 Americans have died due to the virus. And in December, the Kaiser Family Foundation estimated nearly approximately 160,000 of those deaths between June and November were avoidable if those victims had gotten vaccinated. The losses suffered by Huntington families due to the virus weigh heavily on my heart and mind, and I'm sure on those of you in this room. That toll would have been greater for us as a community, except that the Huntington County Health Department and a team of remarkable volunteers stood up an efficient and effective vaccine clinic in the spring of 2021, and we are indebted to their efforts. I also applaud and appreciate the efforts of our private health entities like Parkview and Lutheran that continue to provide critical emergency services to those whose vaccine or illness-acquired immunity was not sufficient to prevent serious health issues. If you know a doctor, a nurse, an emergency responder, or a teacher, please join me in thanking them for their service to our community in extraordinarily difficult times these past few years. Now, I am grateful to serve as the head of a team of leaders that continues to grow in their effectiveness as public servants. In 2021, the senior leadership team and myself began working through the Drucker Playbook for the public sector. The playbook incorporates Peter Drucker's organizational principles to improve leadership effectiveness, values-driven leadership, a focus on customers, accountability, project management, and innovation, among many other things. One of the lessons that I implemented because of this training was dedicating time in my schedule this past year to meet one-on-one with every employee of the City of Huntington to express my appreciation for their service and also learn more about how our team functions top to bottom. It was very insightful, and those insights continue to factor into our decision-making at the management level. Director of Operations Annette Carroll was critical to our efforts to keep our workforce healthy this past year and keeping them encouraged along the way. Now, our city employees continue to evaluate and improve our services in 2021, I want to draw from a few highlights and accomplishments from each department this past year. Beginning with our firefighters, Chief Tony Johnson and his team finally took possession of our new fire engine after the manufacturer borrowed it to showcase it at their national convention in Indianapolis. And as beautiful as it was to see for the first time on the floor of Lucas Oil Stadium, that paled in comparison to the local ceremony blessing it and pushing it into the Condit Street station as a nod to a tradition held in many firehouses. Chief Johnson also successfully acquired and distributed new radios to our firefighters and all township volunteers throughout the county using the FEMA grant fund secured in 2020. Huntington Fire also appreciated the strong community support from donors and contractors that enabled us to install a Safe Haven baby box at the Etna Avenue station. While we hope that box will never need to be used, we want to make sure that a desperate parent in our community has access to a safe option for the baby. Chief Chad Hacker finished his tenure as our Chief of Police, and I am grateful to Chief Hacker's leadership. His heart for our people in this city has been the key to his successful service over the years. In December, after a thorough hiring process with 21 candidates from near and far, I selected an internal candidate to serve as our next Chief of Police. And I'm excited to see what Chief Corey Boxell and his leadership team accomplish as they help our officers continue to earn community trust through their actions. I'm also thankful and grateful for a city council that agrees with me on the importance of investing in equipment and training to make sure that our officers perform their duties with integrity and return home safely at the end of a shift. Our Department of Public Works and Engineering Services worked extremely hard this year to keep major projects in both the public and private sector on schedule. Director Adam Cuttress oversaw the completion of the South Jefferson Water Main, Lindley Street Culvert Replacement Projects, and Roach Street Reconstruction in 2021. Once-in-a-generation infrastructure projects are stressful and they're costly, and I appreciate the understanding and patience of the members of the public that these projects affected. As with every task, debriefing the work afterward helped us learn lessons to improve services. The department also oversaw paving just over 4 miles of city streets, 1.25 miles of alley. Our GIS coordinator, Ben Bond, is instrumental in helping us track and evaluate our streets using PASER standards. Accurate data helps us to methodically improve the streets and alleyways throughout the city. Director Bryn Keppinger and his team in community development and redevelopment continue to see strong growth throughout the city, as indicated by an increase in permit issuance of 4.6% across all categories. This was on top of record numbers last year. The value of permitted construction projects in 2021 was around $35 million, a slight decrease from 2020 on the overall value of the projects. 24 new single-family homes were permitted in 2021, which was an increase of 14%. The department also supported private investments totaling $319,000 in downtown buildings by awarding $70,000 through matching commercial facade and roof grants. While these numbers are impressive, residential housing options that hourly workers can afford remain a need within our community and a focus for the remainder of my term. Street Superintendent Tim Bischoff and his team in city services are responsible for Huntington's 95 miles of streets and 25 miles of paved alleys. Our community owes our street department a great deal of thanks for coming in at all odd hours to ensure the streets remain clear, and that was proven doubly so these past few weeks as we dealt with record snowfalls. Street employees also were responsible for 5 miles of crack sealing, preventive maintenance on our roads, and additionally, the team manages our contracts for trash and recycling collection, something we all understand and appreciate the importance of. They also oversee the orange sticker and brown bag programs. Waste Management bought out our original trash hauler, Advanced Disposal, but we continue to track issues and make sure they get rectified, even as we look forward to putting out those contracts for bid and making sure we have the best deal available to the residents of the city. City Utilities Distribution Superintendent Pat Mayer works closely with both the street and engineering departments to continue improving the city's water and wastewater distribution system. In 2021, they completed a 4-year plan to clean and televise every sewer and storm line in the city of Huntington 1 year ahead of schedule. Now, I know that sounds like really boring programming, but the reality is a project like that allows us to stay ahead of maintenance issues and handle things before they become catastrophes. In 2022, they'll begin the process again to evaluate so that we can continue to use that information to guide project planning and preventative maintenance. We also contracted with N.E. Simpson to survey 43 miles of water main and identifying several leaks that our team repaired along the way as well. Again, that proactive maintenance of leaks and testing meters isn't exciting, but but what it does is allow us to ensure accurate revenues, which lessens pressure on utility rates that we all pay. F&B operations continues to provide excellent service, managing the city's water and wastewater treatment facilities. And while the city maintains ownership of those assets, F&B ensures full compliance with the Indiana Department of Environmental Management regulations and handles routine maintenance on those facilities for us. After assessing the relationship, we determined to renew their service contracts because of how reliable and efficient their team has been in working with the city. A conservative estimate calculates savings of around $100,000 per year to city ratepayers by working with F&V rather than doing that work in-house ourselves. In our Parks and Recreation Department, Superintendent Steve Yoder works with his team to maintain and enhance our city's 186 acres of public parks. These are crown jewels that all of our communities come to appreciate in recent years. In addition to health and enjoyment, several of those parks also help us manage rain from more intense rain events. Meanwhile, Megan Thompson continues to create new and innovative programming to engage people of all ages and help them enjoy our parks. Our newly renovated splash pad opened in time for the summer season, and Steve's team continues to fine-tune it. Despite turnover in our volunteer coordinator role, 2021 enjoyed the service of nearly 1,400 volunteers here in the city of Huntington, providing 6,400 hours of service on 70 projects. That translates to $182,000 in labor savings by having volunteers work on those projects as opposed to if we were having city staff do the work. A team of local skaters began working with city staff and volunteers to lay the groundwork for an overhaul of the skate pad in Yeoman Park. We're looking forward to designing that together in 2022 to begin raising funds for construction in 2023. And the best part of this project for me is watching these young people realize that when they speak up, there are adults who want to help them accomplish their vision, and they can be part of the leadership in our community. Also, at the end of 2021, the City Parks Department engaged Cornerstone Planning and Design to update and integrate our master plan for trails created in 2007 and the separate existing plan for parks. A priority outcome of that project is to tailor the focus of each park to deliver better experiences to everyone enjoying our parks. There's already natural themes there that we want to highlight and emphasize, and it's better for us to be selective in where we put our time and effort in those places. With the second year under his belt, Communication Coordinator Kevin Krosskoff continues building on early successes and tackling long-standing communication challenges for the city. He continued assisting the county health department as well with getting information related to COVID-19 and vaccine efforts out in the community, and we're glad to partner with our peers at the county in that effort. 2021 also laid the groundwork for projects continuing into 2022, such as an overhaul of the joint city-county website and a partnership with C-Click-Fix to create an app for residents to request services, receive news and updates, and report concerns. Just this last week, I received a letter from a young person in our community from one of the elementary schools who specifically asked for us to create an app so they can report potholes. So you can imagine the dinner conversations in this family's home. And it was with great delight that I was able to pen a handwritten note back to this student letting them know, hey, we got great news, we're on it. Our goal is to give the residents of this city a powerful tool for helping us better follow up on requests and providing updates on progress. Communication is foundational to trust, and Kevin's efforts in this matter were crucial to serving our workforce and the city over a difficult year. Now in 2021, we were also able to work with City Council to refund the 2011 water bond in order to take advantage of lower interest rates in the marketplace. And this eliminated over $300,000 in interest payments over the remainder of the bond. Again, another smart financial move for the city to make to alleviate pressure on rates. We have many projects that we need to make sure get accomplished, and we want to make sure that we set ourselves in a good position financially to be able to tackle those. We're nearly finished with designing the final 3 projects of the long-term control plan, and we appreciate the opportunity to work with Lockmuller Group in those efforts. And as we get near the finish line on that, we'll be drawing up that financing plan to move forward with City Council. We are on track to keep that campaign promise. And we continue to work with our partners at Huntington County United Economic Development to support industrial investments in our community, as well as supporting local business efforts through the Chamber and other efforts with downtown business owners and business owners throughout our community. We hope that we'll be able to celebrate a significant announcement regarding the new industrial park with you all soon. When it comes, you'll know. I'm greatly encouraged by the redevelopment and new development of local retail business space. I've often talked before, I view economic development as a 3-legged stool, and one of those aspects is locally owned and operated retail. And this includes the efforts of Jim and Stephanie Smith at the South Jefferson Plaza, the new ownership at the Riverfront Plaza, which is out-of-town ownership, but downtown business owners who've made downtown a place to be excited about and come down and spend a day going through. Other key retail spaces throughout the city continue to grow as well, and we're proud to work alongside of those investors as they turn around their businesses and open them up to the public. In the public sector, our city is the county seat, and I applaud our partners in county government that are doing their part to support addiction recovery. Their bold investment in the O'Donnell Center, formerly at Victory Knoll, in partnership with Parkview and the Our Lady of Victory Missionary Sisters, will benefit our community greatly in helping families and individuals take the steps necessary to get lives back on track. I've also appreciated the opportunity to collaborate with leaders throughout the county to help households outside of the city begin moving forward on a plan to address water and wastewater infrastructure. This administration remains committed to being a good neighbor when it makes financial sense for our current residents and ratepayers as well. Finally, I want to thank and acknowledge the commitment of City Council members to improving the great city of Huntington and serving it together. I remain committed to providing them the information they need to make sound decisions regarding recommendations from the administration or matters that are brought to them by the general public. We may not always agree on the particulars of a policy or advancement, but we share a passion for our city and the residents that call it home. By recognizing that we're all in this together, we have navigated the uncertainty of many of the challenges of 2020 and 2021. And together, our community has transitioned COVID-19 from a public health crisis to a manageable concern as individuals continue to utilize vaccines, therapeutic medicines, testing, and other protective measures such as masks and improved ventilation. COVID-19 is not finished with us yet, but it's also not the threat to our society that it once was in 2020 and early 2021 before vaccines were widely available. We will continue to take the steps forward as a community, and we will continue to support one another through these challenges because that's what we do here in Huntington. As we enter 2022, we're positioned to make significant capital investments in infrastructure and equipment while also still providing a slight decrease in the city's tax rate. As we move into 2022, I recognize that I am halfway through the term granted me by the voters, and I intend to make the most of this time available to me on behalf of our residents. My resolve remains to keep believing in and working for a better Huntington. The poet Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote that what makes a nation's pillars high and its foundation strong is men who stand for truth and honor's sake, stand fast and suffer long, brave men who work while others sleep, who dare while others fly. They build a nation's pillars deep and lift them to the sky. Now, I believe that poetry captures an ethos necessary for each of us in our day. If we're to ensure that we leave Huntington to the next generation better than we found it, it will take each of us playing our part. It will take work. It will take a form of bravery and courage to face our faults and fears. It will require a commitment to truth and honor. And it will require a willingness to patiently stand firm and suffer hardships to bring about important achievements. As I noted in last year's address, there's a housing shortage, and we're still losing loved ones to addiction. It will take each of us doing our part to ensure that our neighbors do not stumble too hard economically in this time. And this is especially true for those of us who might own properties. We need to make sure that if there are rents that are rising, there needs to be a commensurate investment in those properties to justify the rent increases. For my part, I will remain focused on smart economic growth, increasing housing availability, strengthening the city's workforce, sustainable infrastructure projects, and making investments to retain families and young people while recruiting new talent to our community. And I reaffirm my promise to you from last year. There will be bumps and bruises along the way. I will fall short. Anytime humans are involved, we can count on misunderstandings and a failure to communicate. We've also seen the benefit that comes from practicing humility and graciousness in our discourse and actions. And I commit myself to those attributes as a leader and as a model, and I invite you to do the same. Thank you for joining me in that work because our lives and our future depend on it. Thank you for coming today.